So while people were being persecuted for being Latino, for speaking Spanish, for being undocumented, people in the community of Barrio Logan and other environs pulled together to do their part to help their fellow San Diegans. After the story of Qualcomm broke, even before Qualcomm was even understood as a main evacuation point, people from around Barrio Logan decided they were going to set up their own station for collecting and distributing food aid. After the Qualcomm incident, they decided to distribute it without going through Qualcomm or Red Cross, but delivering it directly to the people who needed it, regardless of nationality, ethnicity, or anything else. What amounted to over 100 truckloads of goods were distributed by a bustling group of volunteers who came together, people from the community, people from the campuses, people who didn't think twice about the need to participate and help out. Many immigrants, many undocumented peoples brought what they had to share to help in the relief efforts. But we didn't hear about this. We don't hear about this side of the community. We only hear the criminalization. This tremendous act of solidarity inspired everybody who participated. It also inspired the Minutemen to take action. While we were out there, we were invaded. We were invaded by small groups of hateful individuals who decided that they couldn't stand the fact that this community was pulling together and trying to help out. It didn't fit into their image that they're trying to create of the criminal, quote-unquote, criminal alien. So while we were under watch constantly and often intimidated by the police, who would, in my case, for instance, they took pictures of me and were trying to intimidate me. Under the watchful eye of the police, the Minutemen drove around, harassed people. In fact, in one case, they accused the people who collected the donations of having looted them from elsewhere in order to redistribute them. And this just shows both their racism and their weakness and cowardliness. These two acts, show to me the contrast of how the community responded. And not only the outpouring of support from the local communities, but also from Mexico. A lot of, it was underreported how Mexico actually contributed. So for instance, Mexico sent several fire engines and fire crews to help support the efforts. They also supplied emergency energy after the fires cut a main power link in Arizona that links East County to Arizona. And after a main power link that links San Diego to the rest of California was threatened, they supplied emergency energy. And I thought this was kind of interesting because the Tecate's fire department director told the Associated Press after, why are you helping? And he said something I thought was quite amazing. Well, it's very important for the people of Mexico to cooperate with the people of the US in situations like these, because we live together, more or less. Right? So the fires of 2007 revealed the deepening chasms between the haves and the have-nots. And while it's celebrated by some, the victims go unnoticed and will be forced to pay the long-term consequences of the inaction. One thing this does do, though, is this fire brings us together as a community, and it shows how all of our struggles are linked. The war in Iraq, bring our troops home. Put the money towards rebuilding San Diego or New Orleans. Bring the National Guard troops home, the 47,000 who are in Afghanistan and Iraq. We need them here. We have to continue to organize against this concept of neoliberalism that pushes the costs of systemic failure onto the majority of us. And we have to take this opportunity to recommit ourselves to fighting for the full and unconditional legalization of all undocumented immigrants so that they don't have to face this situation again in the future.
Could I say one minute thing? I just want to add something to his list. Forgive me, I just want to add one other thing to Justin's list. If you've watched the coverage of the fire, you've heard over and over again, the system works. The values are different here. There's suburban solidarity. O'Reilly said this is the opposite of New Orleans. His little friend, Geraldo Rivera, said, no, it's the anti-Katrina, like the What should we make of this? So they're not talking about the way people were treated, the fact that the city wasn't totally, destroyed and the National Guard wasn't almost drowned. They're telling us that New Orleans, forget it. System didn't work, it's broken, now it works here. The worst thing that we could allow happen out of this tragedy in San Diego is to forget New Orleans. Guess what? New Orleans can still be fixed. There's hundreds of thousands of people whose lives remain to be rebuilt and who are rapidly forgotten. And look at the contrast in the consequences. During the same 10-day period that San Diego was burning, Louisiana elected a conservative Republican governor. Louisiana has defied the Deep South pattern for years, electing Democratic governors, usually Cajuns like Edwards or Blanco. Why? Because the citadel of black voters in New Orleans have kept it from turning in politically the equivalent of Mississippi. Those voters are now gone. They're in Houston, they're in Atlanta, they're living in trailers. In California, by contrast, we've seen this whole event turn into an election rally. Whose fault are the fire? Well, if the immigrants didn't set it, then obviously Mike Aguirre did. We're being told that Mayor Sanders, compared to Ray Nagin, and I'm no friend of Mayor Nagin's, but that he's a rock. This heroic, exceptional performance. Did I miss something? Does anybody in the room know what Mayor Sanders did during the last 10 days? We have to ensure that not only do we make this struggle and build and extend, our solidarity, with everybody in this community, with the working class in San Diego, but we have a special responsibility to ensure that New Orleans is not forgotten. Thank you.